The thing that helped me most of all was starting with going, my mom said something to me one time, and she said, there's two types of people in various situations. There's why and there's why not. And, it's understandable to have questions, concerns, things like that. But and maybe sometimes it's a little bit easier when you're younger to just trust people or just say, I don't know, but we go, hey, you want to climb that rock? I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's go. Hey, you want to jump in that river? Yeah, why not? Sure. Versus if I have to reason my way into everything, if I have to be talked into everything, a lot of times I'll talk myself out of it. And I think that a lot of times this is the thinker's disease. You want to figure out what's going to happen and what you should expect to have happen before you get involved versus using the old Bruce Lee saying, again, it's like no amount of thinking or training on the side of the river will teach you how to swim. You have to jump in. And there are risks associated with that. And so, I guess, psychological are usually the biggest ones. That's the biggest hurdle, and physical. But the biggest thing that I guess I would suggest to anyone is say, well, why do you want to do this? You're like, well, I want to challenge myself. I want to learn. I would like to learn to fight. I wanted to learn to fight so that I could protect myself. And if anything else, other people, if only within arm's reach. I perceived that if I had some small degree of power, I generally wouldn't use it. Which is why I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. I'll try to be reasonable. And hopefully if I make a mistake, I'll apologize to people. But basically, said, yeah, I'd like to have that. And I know this is going to be challenging and we'll see what happens. And that means that getting beat up, and I didn't get like hurt, but getting roughed up, getting my arm bent this way or that way, getting choked. I was like, well, this is all supposed to happen. That's no big deal. It would be like going and joining the army during peacetime. And then going, oh, I'm just doing this for a college education. You go like, okay, that's cool, man. And then all of a sudden, war breaks out, and they want to send me somewhere. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa! I didn't sign up for that gig. Actually, you did, whether you realize it or not. You may not have thought that you did, but you did. So getting your mind right and just going, what are my expectations for this activity? What is it that I'm looking to do? And of course, you're going into a gym, you're going into a place that you don't know people, or you probably don't know people, and you don't know the coach. And even if you do on a, hey, how you doing, shake your hand type of level, 95% of my students don't know me. Not really. I'll try to be polite and not annoy them too much, but they don't know me and I don't know them. I understand if they don't trust me. I wouldn't trust me either if I were them. But at the same time, someone has to take that leap. And one of the things that I've noticed as a martial arts instructor that's the biggest struggle with dealing with adults, which is why a lot of people like to teach kids, is because kids don't argue. Mm-hmm. Now, that also means there's all sorts of pitfalls with that sort of thing, and that can be an issue. But, I guess a lot of times people get to a point in their life, in their 20s, early 30s, where now I'm a manager now. I know what I'm doing. No one talks to me like that. Yeah. First, it's like, hey, man, you go join boot camp. I don't care if you are Elon Musk. They're going to tell you to shut up and do push-ups. Yeah, and that's what's great about it. Yeah. So you are taking a leap of faith into a world that you're going to be a tiny fish, and you got to hope that the people who are guiding you in that journey are going to have, I can't even say your best interest at heart, because they don't even know you, but they'll try to do no harm, and they'll try to help you in the way that they would understand. And I guess that's what I would try to do with anyone that comes into my gym. I would try to help them in the way that I understand they need, as best I can, and as safe and reasonable a way as possible, but sometimes in a way that's going to make them uncomfortable, particularly if physical combat and it's not something they've done before. If a lot of people go in without even having played, contact sports. And so that can be a big jump, and you have to understand if that's where you're starting from, no worries, but you're going to have to kind of work your way to it, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. It's part of the process, and you're going to have some bumps and bruises, and you're not going to want to roll with that guy in the corner because that person's rough and they beat you up, and they're like, okay, but is this a big hurt or is it a little hurt? If it's a big hurt, okay. If it's a little hurt, need you to soldier up a little bit.
Yeah, it's such an interesting balance, because to find, I think one of the most important things, as in anything, I think in life, is the selection of the people that you put around you. I mean, that's true with like getting married. That's true with like if people ask me, like graduate students, like your PhD advisor can be the difference. It's everything. It's like you spend 5 years with somebody, they're going to basically define the more impact on you than anybody you marry, anybody you hang out with. It's a huge impact. And the same with the coach selection, which is like the school selection, it's going to be really important about, in terms of like who you select will define how happy, like the trajectory of your growth and how happy you are with the entirety of the experience. And yet, like the flip side of that is, especially if you have an ego, especially if you are the manager, then you used to let go of some stuff, you're gonna feel like shit with the best kind of coach. That's what you need.
Right.
But there's a weird balance there to find. Like, I mean, like, and everybody needs a different thing. Like, I'm much more. I enjoy being sort of like. It sounds weird, but like, I'm, from the wrestling background. I enjoy feeling like crap, in the sense like the coach, like getting beat up. I don't actually enjoy it. It's not like some masochistic thing or whatever.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
It's the growth. Like, I like the anxiety. I like feeling like shit when I go home, like emotionally, physically. It's growth.
It's a sign of growth, right? Like,
It's
if you're not having to feel those things, you're probably in your comfort zone, which is fine, but that's not your growth zone, right?
And everybody has a different threshold for
Right.
that. And I mean, the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu is like, it's also has like a yoga feel to it. Like, you're learning about your body. So depending on the gym and depending on, in fact, the coaches, the people around you within the gym, you can select little groups too, kind of like the people with who you roll. Like, if you're a smaller person, it doesn't mean you have to go against big people. You can go against the people who like smoke a lot of weed and they're chill, or you can go against like that crazy ripped blue belt competitor who's like out to destroy everybody. And depending on like what your mindset is, you can kind of select that. And it's such a fascinating journey of like basically self-discovery.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, what you need may change over time, right? Maybe what you need today could change 6 months from now or a year from now, and that's something that I experienced. I'll use my first coach, Christian, again as a great example of someone who I really look up to and respect, and someone who helped me a lot. Like, at a time when I really needed some guidance and I needed to learn martial arts, but get into Henzo Gracie's gym was right down the street from where Christian was teaching, and Christian was a blue belt at the time. It was he was teaching at a place called Fight House, which is this awesome like 90s, early 2000s, warehouse area down on Fashion Avenue in Manhattan, off of like between 7th and 8th, and it was like 2 basketball courts wide, but like there was the Sambo guys over here, there was the Kali guys over there was a Wing Chun over there, was Jiu-Jitsu in the corner, and Henzo's was one of the most famous academies in the world at that time, still is, and I just didn't know what Henzo Gracie was. And I mean, it's a great gym and it's a fantastic place for people to train. But I think what was right for me at the time was I stumbled into, like a 2-person elevator up and found a place where 6 people trained at that time. And I had someone that could give me some, like, in addition to martial arts advice, like personal guidance. And that made a big difference. And then when initially we would have like competitions or like intra gym competitions with the Sambo guys, we would roll with them, and like, again, it was great because they were just a bunch of like Russian dudes from like Brighton Beach, and they would come down and then we would all fight, and then everyone would train, and we'd all drink tea and then go home. And anyway, what was
Russians?
It was super tough, and they were like, again, just a tough group of people. It was great. And then I remember when I decided after like 4 or 5 months, I'm like, man, I really want to try to take this seriously. And I told Christian about that, and he's like, well, hey, I think you need to do the following. And it was, like, hey, there was a guy named Jeff Ruth who was purple belt at the time, which was a much bigger deal than it is now, but was 10-0 as an MMA fighter, a lot of amateur boxing experience, super tough dude. And Jeff was the best person at that time that I'd ever trained with. And I just got squashed. Christian used to beat me up too, but like Jeff would just absolutely kick the crap out of me. And I was like, this is awesome. And this was back when I was at home. I went home for the summer for that. And Chris was like, hey, I think you should stay. Because I told him that's what I was thinking. And this was a coach that, when initially was exactly what I needed. And then he's like, well, hey, that's not what I'm doing here. Maybe they're going to be able to help you onto a path that's kind of commensurate with what your goals are at the moment. And then, that was an interesting thing. And I feel that I was fortunate to start at a place where my coach was able to transition roles and do so comfortably. And I think that also was probably a factor of the fact that, where he'd done some of his training prior, like there have been issues with the coach there. We're like not having the support, feeling like, hey, like I'm going to hold on to my students. I'm going to hold on to my best guy or my best girl, even if I can't take them where they need to go.
Hey guys, most people study jiu-jitsu through instructionals that look clean, but they don't show what actually works under pressure. Here we learn from matches, where technique is proven when everything's on the line. That's how you cut through the noise. and see what truly works when it matters. On my Patreon, you'll find free breakdowns from the newest matches I can't post on YouTube, full studies, and complete guides, all built to help you improve faster and train smarter. You can start free right now. The link's in the description and pinned comment. And if you're new, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next study.